Oh, it still hurts.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Maybe you should relax now. Okay? Slowly close your legs. Ooh, beautiful. Doing well. You know, stretching is so important. For example, because of my big legs and karate, I can do the splits no problem. Back and forth.
Hey guys, welcome to First Watch. I'm Will.
And I'm Mike.
This
Hello.
is the show that's part review, part reaction, double impact, starring Van Damme and, wait for it, Van Damme. Directed by Sheldon Lettich, and it was written by Van Damme and Sheldon Lettich. 91 is when this came out, right?
They just went ham on it.
Yeah, and so Sheldon Lettich also directed Lionheart, and I think he wrote Bloodsport. He wrote Rambo 3. He was involved in a lot of 80s action movies. And he directed other Van Damme movies after this one in the 90s. This is the MVD Rewind Collection Blu-ray release. This came out in 2019. It's got the slipcover with the VHS cases, comes with the poster, and the bonus features on here are insane. It's like, unless you have a whole day free, there's no way
it's
that
like
you
a
can...
whole menu. There's like the making of, and there's like part 1 and part 2.
It's
like a whole movie, basically.
It's 2 hours long.
Yeah.
There's an hour of deleted scenes. There's an 8-minute long anatomy of a scene feature where the director goes through one of the scenes and talks about why they shot it that way and what they were trying to accomplish and what dramatically is happening within the story and stuff like that. So that actually might be a good lead into one of the reasons I really like this movie. So this is probably my either favorite or second favorite Van Damme movie. Switching places with Hard Target depending on the day, because I love John Woo. And also Hard Target has the scene where the police officer puts her own birthday cake in her desk drawer with the candles still lit for no reason. So good.
And you got his uncle in the bayou who's clearly not from that area.
Yes.
But
okay.
Anyway,
but actually, speaking of, they also do the thing in this movie where they have to explain Van Damme's accent. We'll just explain the setup of this movie, and then we can talk about why we like it. I kind of diverted the course there, but so there's Van Damme is twins.
Yeah.
And British parents, and they were born in Hong Kong. And then, do you want to?
Yeah. If you're familiar with Hong Kong, there was, I think it was in the late 80s or early 90s that a bridge.
No, the tunnel was because it was 25 years later, right?
Yeah.
The harbor tunnel.
Yeah,
I think it's the 60s.
Built.
I guess 60s or 70s it was built.
Yeah. And basically, the Van Damme's parents were involved with that with 2 other people who double-crossed them, had them killed. But the children were able to escape. One was left at an orphanage in Hong Kong, and the other was taken by the bodyguard who's played by Jeffrey Lewis, who's a pretty famous character actor. And so one kid grows up in Hong Kong and becomes sort of like a local smuggler criminal.
Which is Alex, this guy here.
The dark one. And then the other one grows up with Frankie, Uncle Frankie in France to explain his accent, but then for some reason
they're in Los
Angeles.
In
Los Angeles, and he's in an aerobics studio.
No, but he co-teaches. They have a studio that is aerobics and karate, and he teaches in both.
Yeah.
And that's Chad, and that's this guy, and he wears neon pink Miami Vice hot shorts.
And we meet him as
Jim is dying right now. So to tell you,
we meet him?
Mike and I love this movie, and Jim thinks it's one of the worst movies ever. And we made him watch it, but all the reasons that he explains why it's bad are the reasons that we think it's amazing.
But the opening is when we first meet Chad, it's brilliant. It's like he's stretching out a woman, and that's actually Julie Strain, who's in a lot of Andy Sidaris movies, which we've reviewed a few of.
And we love.
She's really attractive. And then it cuts to him doing the splits, and it's just like a close-up of his ass for a minute. And he wrote that part himself because he's I'm so flexible, I can do the splits, no problem. And
it's amazing.
And then 2 minutes later, he's like, Uncle Frankie, and he's like, I've been raising you 25 years. He's like, Uncle Frankie's like, first of all, I'm not your uncle. Just casually tosses that out there. It's so good. And then they go to Hong Kong to
they find there's this mysterious detective who shows up kind of unprompted, or we don't know what's going on.
See him again.
He has photos of Alex, and he gives them to Frankie and Chad. And then Uncle Frankie is like, "Oh, I found your long-lost brother." So, again, with the setup of their dad having played a large part in the opening of the harbor tunnel, Frankie believes they're owed tons of money from the construction contracts and stuff like that. So his plan is to take them to Hong Kong and challenge Griffith and Zhang, who are the two guys who killed their parents, who are involved in, like, on the surface, they're like, Griffith is like a legitimate businessman, but they're like running cocaine and guns and stuff. And they have to challenge them in court or something and find proof that their dad built the tunnel so they can get their money back. And then, of course, it becomes like a crime movie. But one of the things that I love about this movie is that watching this, we've watched this movie like twice in the last like 6 months maybe. Yeah. Watching this movie, again, it's very obvious to me that Van Damme and Sheldon Lettich, the director, really love Hong Kong movies. And the way that this is written, the way that it's shot, the locations that they choose are very obviously either indebted to or drawing from or an homage to the heroic bloodshed genre, which is basically John Woo movies, if you want to call it that. Stuff. So, but like all the stuff that came after A Better Tomorrow, basically. So like A Better Tomorrow, The Killer, Hard Boiled, like City on Fire, Wild Search, like those types of movies. It's not... Like, it looks like they really love those movies, and they're trying to do, like, their own version of those movies in, like, a very kind of respectful way. And it's really cool to see this Van Damme movie, this, like, American movie. Well, it had, like, a decent budget, I think.
Yeah, it had a decent budget.
And, like, they went, like, great lengths to shoot on location in Hong Kong. Bolo Young is in the movie, and, like, they use a lot of Hong Kong actors. And there's even that location... There's, like, this derelict resort. Where is it that they hide out? It's like a hotel or something.
Like it's a old resort that
and that set looks like a Shaw Brothers movie, but it's like covered in bird crap and like cobwebs, and it's almost like this weird expressionist like manifestation of their like homage to the Shaw Brothers. And then, as Mike pointed out, there's pigeons everywhere.
There's pigeons everywhere. There's slow motion. There's rolling gunfights. There's a lot of other stuff like that.
There's a shootout between Alex and some triads in like a drug factory that is like John Woo to a T.
Yeah,
like the way the camera's moving, the guns in each hand, like
all that stuff.
It's crazy.
So this was like when Van Damme was at his peak, because he did Bloodsport in '88, Kickboxer '89, and those are probably his two best known films.
I think Bloodsport is probably the most famous.
Probably the most famous. That got him to start, made him big anyway, and then he went into this. So Bloodsport was also in Hong Kong, and I think he likes the area, likes those kind of movies, so he wanted to know the movie there.
I know that he was courting John Woo at this time, which is how they ended up making Hard Target. Like, he went and met with John Woo when they were in Hong Kong making these, like, trying to convince him to come and do a movie with him.
But so, yeah, like you said, it has Van Damme in it, it has Jeffrey Lewis in it, Bolo Young's in it, Corey Everson's in it. She's like a 6 or 7 time Miss Olympia. And I think she looked pretty good in it.
She's very
got a unique
we have
look.
to point out this scene that's ridiculous. She is like this, martial arts expert, assassin, bodyguard. She carries a whip. She has a knife. And there's a scene where there's all these businessmen at a table, and they make her cut the cake for them because she's the woman. It's so bad. It's like, don't you have? There's like all these waiters. It's like you don't have someone else who can cut the cake.
But man, and some of the fight scenes towards the end with Bolo Young versus Chad was really good. With they set it up with they're using these like flammable barrels, and there's like a big explosion.
Well, so one of the things that we talked about that I think ties into the Anatomy of the Scene bonus feature here, Mike and I talked about this while we were watching the movie, and I love using this term in reference to this movie because I think it enrages Jim, is the mise en scène that is taking place here. But it's very obvious that they set out with every scene and sequence to give it its own look, and it has a beginning, it has a middle, it has an end, and it's very deliberately designed, and it's really interesting to watch because a lot of Van Damme's movies, even the good ones, are not made like that. They're just like traditional action movies. But like the scene where he fights the guy with the cowboy boots, like that has a very unique lighting scheme. And the fight with Bolo Young that you were talking about with the barrels, it's like it has an opening section where they establish the space and the barrels and everything, and then a middle and a very clear end. And it's like very well done. And they use a lot of really cool. Like there's that thing on the dock that's like, what is that giant thing that he fights?
It's a loader. I don't know what they're called.
So there's a loader. There's all these different aspects of the physical spaces in which the movie takes place that they use in really interesting ways. So it's not like, oh, we're going to go to the docks, but then here's this open square of dirt that we're going to fight on. It's like everything that you would find at the docks becomes involved.
And
in the
I think
fight.
half the fun watching this movie again was just commenting about how Jim hated everything and how we loved it.
How much we love it!
So that was like half the fun. But I would say if you're a fan of Van Damme and you're looking to get into his old catalog, this is definitely one you want to check out.
And he also obviously wrote this movie to show off his acting skills. And the thing is, he's not a great actor, but he's really not like a terrible.
No.
Like he does a really good job of being two different people in this.
Yeah, they do feel
they
like
have
two different
personalities. One is like very rough brawler. The other one is like kind of like bright, happy, but like really good at like kind of like traditional studio martial arts, not like street fighting type stuff.
So there's a good mix. It's fun. You can see the the 1990s version of green screen when they do the two of them on screen together.
There's only a couple scenes because
that
the
were really
Blu-ray,
good.
obviously, so this is really high quality. Mike has a giant 4K TV, so you can really see like the imperfections and stuff. But there's only like one or two scenes where the lighting is like drastically different on the two of them.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on?
did a pretty good
but a lot
job
of it is
for the
really
time.
well done. Yeah. I think this is both a really good example of a thriller from this period, action thriller influenced by Hong Kong movies, and also it's an inherently preposterous movie that's just really fun to watch.
Yeah. Like I said, definitely check it out if you're into
And
Van
an
Damme.
excellent release from
And,
MVD Rewind Collection. Yet again, we will include links as to where you can find this company and buy this and all that stuff.
Yeah, check it out.